I was going on 17, going on 18.
Wow, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah,
In the school that you went to, was it all
all
kids in
all girls.
all girls school? Okay,
Yes.
was it a large school? I mean, there was a lot of
It
large student body.
it wasn't large. It wasn't, any. I would say large. Maybe our classes might be like 20 children in a class. It wasn't a big school. It was a Catholic school.
Yeah. Okay, but it was a regular. Some people talk about a little country school where they just
Oh no, no.
used
This
as a
was in the
regular
this was in the
town.
town, and
Yeah.
it was ran by the nuns and the priests, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. What did you do for fun as a child?
Um, Fun was anything from just hanging out with my girlfriend to when I got older to be allowed to go to dances.
What were the dances like?
The dances were super terrific, but my parents were very strict, and because I was the youngest, I didn't always get to go because they were very, very narrow-minded over there, about girls going out on their own and stuff like that. But actually, it was only when they decided that I was coming to America that I got allowed to be having a little freedom. And so you rode your bike to the dances, and if you had a date, he met you there. No such thing as coming to the house to accompany you or anything like that. So everything was like kind of sneaky and under wraps.
Kind of quiet, huh?
Very, very quiet. More than
Now,
quiet.
How could you meet a boy then if you went to an all-girls school?
You weren't supposed to meet boys. It was taboo.
Oh, but you had a date.
Yeah,
So
but nobody knew that he was there.
So you would go to a dance and meet some
Yes,
fellow,
sir.
and then you'd
Dance
take
your
a date.
dance your shoes all night, and the highlight of the evening was if he took you next door and bought you a Coke or that was it.
And then asked you to meet him again the next
Yes,
week or so.
and if you were lucky and you could sneak out, you might meet him again, but chances are you might never get to see him.
Wow. Yeah.
Because they were very, my brothers were the same way. My brothers, they're the ones here and the ones in Ireland. If they saw you going out to meet a guy, they would reprimand you and send you right back home.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So if you walked into the dance hall and there was one of your brothers, your night was over. Huh?
Yeah. You really were put on the carpet for it.
Yeah. And how far did you have to go to get to a dance hall?
Well, in the town where I went to school, where I went to school there, that would be like 3.5 miles, ride a bike. But that was the fun thing, because you'd meet like at the top of the road or something and with other girls, and then you'd all, put on your fineries and cycle in and, be concocting all kinds of things that was going to happen, but never happened. It was so funny. But it was like bizarre the way they handled it, where here it's so different, the young girls of whatever age, they can, bring the guys to the house and you get to meet them and all. There was no such thing. We couldn't even put lipstick on. When I was going to the dances, I might put lipstick on my and then you put powder over it so that when you walked out of the house, they didn't see you going with lipstick. Of course, don't forget, this was like 1950.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were really, they were adamant about keeping you under wraps.
Now, did you learn to dance at the dances, or did you take any dance classes from school or anything like that?
No, we just learned to do Cayley dancing.
At the dances.
Yeah.
How about drama? Were you ever into drama?
No.
Never got
No.
involved in the drama. And music, obviously, you sang.
Yeah.
And did you play any instruments?
Never played an instrument.
So
No. But we had the, like the house dances
yes. Tell me about
around my neighborhood, and that was the highlight of a Sunday evening. If you got all your chores done and, milking the cows and bringing them in or feeding the ducks or the chickens or whatever, and if you really behaved yourself, I would be let go to it was my girlfriend's house that used to have the dances, and they just had the old winding up gramophones. And we had the records that you dropped in one at a time, and they'd be like maybe 4 or 5 guys and girls and older men, and we would all dance our shoes off. And then the woman of the house would make tea, and sometimes we'd bring something for to a little treat, and it was like going to heaven just to be allowed to go there.
And what time would that start on a Sunday?
That would start like maybe like 7:30 when everybody had all the milking done and everything was done. The guys would change their clothes and put on a clean shirt,
Yes.
and off you'd see them going, and You knew exactly where everybody was going because this is the house where all the action was.
Yeah, and that was something that was allowable by your parents.
Oh yeah,
they
yeah,
didn't have a
because
problem
you
with
know
that
you're
'cause you were in a neighbor's
inside and
house.
they knew the woman of the house and
Right.
you were more or less
And where did
safe.
you dance?
On the kitchen floor.
Okay.
Yep.
And did you have that happen at your house too? Did
Yeah.
you have those dances
Yeah,
too?
and they came to our house to play cards a lot. And we had dances too, but there was a few houses around like that had not every house had even a radio or a gramophone.
Right.
And so if you didn't have that, you couldn't have the dances.
Right.
But certain houses had it, and they had like the records all piled up. There might only be like 10 records, but you play them over and over and over. Yeah, there was no such thing as CDs or
Right.
DVDs.
You're talking about winding up. Was there electricity at that time?
In the beginning, I remember quite clearly, I'm not sure what year it was that we got the electric light, and it was like the going to outer space, like that's what I would consider it as. And my brother did my older brother that passed away, he did all the wiring of the house and put the switches in and you know, one by the bed and one by the door. And then I remember like yesterday, the night that he turned on the switch and the electric worked in the house. It just never leaves your mind, because up until that it was the candle and the kerosene lamp up on the wall.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back anytime.
Well, do you remember about how old you were when the electricity came in? Were you a teenager?
Oh God, no, I was very young, probably in grade school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that was
Because when Tom came to this country, which was probably, he went to England in 1948, so he probably came here in 1949. We didn't have electric when he left home.
So it might have been like the early 50s?
Early 50s, yeah. And my other brothers, they worked with it was called the ESB,
Yes.
you know, putting in the poles and the wires. And so that was great, a lot of work for the young guys in the neighborhood. It went on and on and on and on, but then the electric wasn't really turned on until everything was all hooked up.
Right.
And then they brought it into your house. It's kind of like if you're lucky enough to get it. And then it came into our neighborhood because the whole street got it.
Yeah. What kind of reactions did you have, your mother and father have?
Astonishment, a total astonishment. Yeah, yeah.
That's a really interesting story.
Yeah.
And then did you take advantage of having that electricity right away by?
Oh yeah.
By
Well,
buying
not
things
so
from
much. I
electric?
think the first thing that we took advantage of was we got a radio. And my brother made like a little hole in the wall for it, like you'd set it into a little cubby like that.
Yep.
And we'd actually just sit there and stare at the radio.
I remember doing that as a child.
That's how it was, and it was terrific because that would bring a lot of guys to the house to listen to the games.
Yes.
And on Sunday afternoon, that was a big thing over there. After Mass, you went home and you'd have dinner. The big meal was always in the middle of the day on a Sunday. And then in the afternoon, around 3 o'clock or so, when it was being broadcast from Dublin, they would come to the house and they'd all sit around and you couldn't say a word while it was happening.
I find it still that way in Cary.
Yeah, yeah, it's like that. It's kind of like here when the game is on. You know, the Yankees, you just might as well get lost because nobody talks. But it was great because all these young guys would come and we'd be, you know, oh my God, you'd be so excited.
She has to look at them, they look at you, watching the game.
Yeah.
What was one of your favorite foods when you were a kid? Did you have anything you especially loved the way your mother made it?
Loved everything because she was a terrific cook. I can almost smell, you know, the aromas of the roasted chicken. We had the open fire.
Did you?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
And she'd put the coals on the bottom of it, and then you know, the heavy skillets. They were like pots, but they had lids, coals on top, and then put the chicken in fresh. My mom would go out, catch the chicken, twist him's neck. This is gross, but this is what I remember.
Yeah.
And then put it into a bucket of scalding hot water and took all the feathers off. Gutted it out, cleaned it out, and it might be in the pot for Sunday. We basically would only have that like maybe on a Sunday. Would have to be a big, big fat one because there was an awful lot of us around.
Yes,
And on top of that, she put like slices of bacon. We had our own bacon.
yeah.
And some onions and carrots and things. And oh my God, when that was
Sounds so
cooking,
good.
you couldn't wait until that was put on the table.
It makes me hungry just
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she baked her own bread, obviously.
Baked her own bread.
Do you still use her recipe?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mostly whole wheat bread, and she might make 3 big, huge round ones this side and put it out on the, we had a tank for the water, put it out there to cool. You could still see it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about celebrating Christmas. What was it like to celebrate Christmas?
Oh my God, it was like you just waited for it to happen, and there was no emphasis at all on gifts. We didn't do that gift thing, about buying for everybody at all. The children in the house would hang up their own stocking, not a bought stocking, but one of your stockings. You washed your stockings out and you hung it up because we still had the open fires, and you went to bed in anticipation. And when you got up in the morning, you might find, this is what I found that I got in my stocking. Down at the very bottom of the stocking always was an orange. And then barrettes for your hair, and maybe some anklet socks with a little lace on them or something special that you didn't have, maybe a real fancy pair of shoelaces or something like that. And we would just take it and look at it all day. And I remember, this is so childish and juvenile, but I have to tell it because I think it's so cute in a way. The orange, I would save it and I wouldn't eat it because I couldn't bear to eat it. It was so precious. So I would hide it, put it into a bag of, corn, either oats or wheat or barley or something out in the outhouse. So I would put it in there to just, to go look at it, and maybe eventually someday I might eat it. And then before you know it, it might have rotted away.
Dried up on you, so you never got to eat it. Yeah.
That's how it was so valuable, because you didn't see an orange again until next Christmas.
Wow. Yeah, they didn't import them like they do now.
Oh,
They didn't have that.
well, if they did, they would be in the stores, but, we didn't get them.
Yeah,
Couldn't afford them.
Yeah.
The only apples we would get would be from a neighbor that would have an orchard, and Tom was a great one for stealing the apples. I'm sure he put this on his resume, breaking into the orchards and getting the apples.
Now, for Christmas, was there a special meal that you'd have?
Oh yes, always a goose, never turkey.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was done like it would be done maybe like a day ahead, all washed and clean and hung up and everything ready to go. And my mother made a potato stuffing, not bread stuffing. It was made with potatoes and sautéed onions and flour, and she had other kind of spices that she used to do, like the guy on television, Bam, and a little of this and a little of that.
Yeah.
And oh God, it was so good.
Yeah. So then would that be an afternoon meal?
Oh yeah, always in the middle of the day, and of course always on a Sunday or a Christmas day or whatever.
Christmas.
Yeah.
And how about, did you go to Christmas services?
Yeah, we always went to midnight mass on Christmas Eve. We'd all get dressed in our finery and we would all walk over the road like little ducklings all along. And by the time you got home, it was like, it was Christmas Day, so you just went to bed, and then before you know it, you had to get up and check your stocking.
Pretty exciting time, huh?
Oh, yeah.
And how about St. Stephen's Day? Did you?
Oh, that was the biggie. That was the night that we got to go to the dances. We went to do the wren thing.
Yes.
And we'd go around to the houses, and then we'd all wind up in somebody's house in the evening, and they would have like a ceilidh dance.
And did you go with the wrens?
Oh, yeah.
You did. And
yeah.
what would you do? What was your participation?
You just sort of went and you carried your little cup, for the to drop in some coins into it, and you just sang along with the other group. So you faked it or make it. If you could sing, you could. If you couldn't, you just faked it.
So you'd have a kind of a little set routine that when you
Yeah,
got
oh,
to
yeah.
the house, you were all going to do.
Yeah, we would talk about it, when we go to this house, we'll sing this, and we go to the next house, we'll sing that. And they'd be so delighted to, even if you didn't sing anything, they'd be so happy to see you coming that they would, get the change ready and you could drop it into the cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you sing Christmas songs or just
carols and just any old song?
Yeah.
Too, but a lot of Christmas carols.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we had on the 12th night, which it was, the last night of Christmas, they called it, we had a very interesting tradition where my mom bought 12 candles all different colors. And they lit them. They put all the lights out in the house, and they lit all these 12 candles. They didn't even have candlesticks for them. They usually got like a little can and put some sand into it, and they were like kind of like the you know, they're longer, skinny candles. The Jewish people use them now for their menorahs.
Yes.
Those type of candles, but they were so pretty. They were purple and green and red, and so everybody picked a candle. You know, you named your candle, and it was so sad in a way. It had kind of a sad tone to it. Whoever candle went out the first was going to die the first.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and they believed it.
Wow.
And my father lived till he was 85 years old, and his candle never went out, it seemed.
Wow. So it wasn't really, the superstition was not well founded then.
No, it wasn't. Of course it had no meaning at all, but they believed it so intently that, you know, Daddy's candle is still, you know, lit, and he's not going to die, and that was a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That'd be hard
And
to
that
get
would-
through the year.
That would go for hours, you know, you know, before they burned out.
Did anybody try to blow anybody's out for
No,
them?
we just sat there and stared at them,
Hope it
waited,
wasn't gonna be yours to
hope
go out.
it wasn't going to be your turn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that is
But
scary.
it was more of the luxury of the candles, and you know, just kind of like a party thing, you know.
Yeah.
We, being young, we didn't really believe it, but the older people believed it.
Were there storytelling? Did you have
Oh, there was storytelling all the time. My father constantly told stories about the IRA, and terrible stories about this woman that was milking her cow, and you know, the English came along and shot her dead, milking her cow. Stories like that, and ghost stories. You know, and it was you'd go to bed and have nightmares after it. Yeah. But they sort of, there'd be other older men that would come in to visit my dad, you know, and they would start talking. Well, do you remember back when? And before you know it, it would lead to something like that. And then we, of course, being around as young kids, we'd be hearing it, obviously. Sometimes you would be told to just go and get lost someplace. But I remember some really, really, really awfully sad stories. But a lot of stories about the IRA and that kind of thing.
And now, just right in the news in the last couple of days has been that the IRA has decided to put down their arms.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to happen?
I think I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
This was going to happen before, you know, but maybe with all this stuff that's going on in England, maybe they're ready to just cool it a little bit, you know.
So, huh? Wouldn't that be nice?
Luckily, they got the 4 guys in England,
Yeah.
which is amazing.
Yeah.
That length of time that they were able to get them all.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is. Yeah. How important was the church in your community?
It was very important. My home was we were raised very much like that. We of course never missed mass, and we went to confessions once a month. And of course that was taught to us in school. You were just going to be struck dead if you didn't go. So that was a routine thing. And my mom said the rosary every night that I can remember of my childhood before leaving home. No matter where you were or what was going on, you had to be home for the rosary. And she had this big long litany afterwards that went on and on and on and on. And she prayed for the dead, she prayed for the living, she prayed for the sick, prayed for just had prayers, special prayers, and she just was just amazing to see her. And we'd just kneel down on the floor, which was made of cement.
Yes.
And you'd be wiggling and back and forth and wondering, is this thing ever going to end? Because, you know, it was uncomfortable.
And how long would you be down there? How would that last?
Well, the 5 decades of the rosary, and then this litany, and then these extra prayers. So it went on for a long time.
Yeah. Half an hour?
Oh, more.
More?
Yeah.
Half an hour.
Yeah.
Wow. And even in the cold, and nobody missed it for any
Every
reason?
day, every cold spring, summer, winter, it never failed. And she did that right up until the day she passed away.
So there was no getting
So
around it. She waited for everybody to be there before
Yes.
she started.
Yeah, and then, you know, when we were